how can the Tinubu government put in guardrails, perform stunningly well, and ride a tide of hope with something new and forward-looking 3 years to the next election amid all the yearning for change in this country? What will it take to get real economic progress in Nigeria? Well, according to one school of thought, the answer lies in agriculture, direct federal government involvement in the sector. The rationale for that involvement is being made by Senator Enang, who is currently a legislative consultant and government resource person. He describes it as the notion of agricultural fundamentalism, a means by which the agricultural deficiencies in Nigeria, including its great collapse and the prolonged depression in that sector, can be remedied by direct federal government involvement. If not, he says, this country will get to a point where even those with money can't find food to buy. And this could have a devastating knock-on effect on the political panorama of this country. So what exactly is this suggested new role for the federal government in the agriculture sector? Well, to set forth his views on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Senator Enang, who is a legislative consultant, a government resource person. He's also a leader of the APC party and was a governorship aspirant in Akwa Ibom State under the APC. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much, and I welcome myself.
Well, I certainly welcome you.
Much.
How real would you say the threat of food insecurity is in Nigeria today?
You don't need to ask about, you don't need to go far to find an answer to it. It is real, it is everywhere, and of course even the protest is tagged hunger protest. Not because there is no food, but not just because there is no food, but the food available is not affordable. And again, there is actually no food. And of course, the federal government has appreciated this position and has accepted that it is. And that is why they say they have given a 90-day window for importation of food into the country without paying tariff and royalties or whatever.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on that move by the federal government?
It is, I respect my president, I respect the federal government, I am of the APC, but please permit me to disagree that it is not a solution. One, because you are not even going to see the food to get from this country, because almost every country is food challenged now. And again, even when you find food, you are going to buy it at a very high cost. When you even buy it at very cost, there is no country where you are going to find food in bulk, any particular kind of food in bulk, where they produce and kept in their silos. No, they also have the same challenge. So they will buy in small quantities and then assembling in one big place, and then truck will carry it to the sea, and then you will load it, and it will take even the period of 3 months before this food can arrive. You know, that's it. So the question of that you are only giving excuse to yourself from the customs not charging for arriving, but you are funding the agriculture, the labor of that country. You are funding the economy of that country, and you are not funding your own economy. So it is not, I apologize, persons say you shouldn't criticize the government, but I do not think it is the wisest thing, unless this food is available, which I know is not available. What the federal government should do is take advantage of the greatest resource it has now, which is land, and take advantage of the grace and the activism of the Tinubu economics and the Tinubu judicial activism, which has obtained rightly, very rightly, autonomy for the local government in this country. Now, you collaborate with your resources at the federal government. Work with the state government through the National Economic Council chaired by the Vice President. Work and have the buy-in of the governors, and let a percentage of the monies that goes to the local government be at least 15% be charged and channeled to agriculture in each of those local governments.
Let me just take you up on that, because that's a very interesting proposition. You want the federal government, by that intervention, to be directly involved in agriculture. That is a form of direct involvement. and you wanted to use that recent autonomy granted to the local governments to, in a way, force them to deploy their funds into agriculture.
Yes, and I want them to fund it. I mean, get them directly involved in agriculture, because
in other words,
the federal government
force them into
yes,
agriculture.
no, I wouldn't say force.
Because the reason I use that word is that it sounds like a contradiction. You grant them autonomy, and then you force them into a particular line of action, which then negates that autonomy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't negate. You know what? When each of the local governments and where people are protesting, the governors are telling the people, the citizens of the respective states, that look, see that Tinubu? They are pointing one finger at Tinubu. Meanwhile, 4 fingers are pointing at the governors. They are telling the citizens of the local government that it is the Tinubu administration that are making things costly. Meanwhile, Tinubu has no land. The only land Tinubu has control of is the land in the Federal Capital Territory. The land under the Land Use Act is under the control of the governors, is under the control of the local government. It is only them that can deploy that land for agriculture. Now, it is the only land the federal government has in the states and in some of these areas is the lands that they have taken and hadn't got central occupancy called River Basin Authority lands under the Ministry of Agriculture. Meanwhile, we'll come to that. Under the Ministry of Water Resources.
Right.
We'll come to that because I want to sort that they be reorganized. Now, if Tinubu has no land, federal government has no land. Federal government only has land in the Federal Capital Territory under the Land Use Act. Under the Constitution, the Land Use Act is part of the Constitution. So Tinubu cannot, even by executive order, direct to take over land.
Well, let me take you up on that point, because the issue here, when you talk about the state governments, it has to do with the current policies of the federal government. And the person I think you're referring to indirectly is the Bauchi State Governor, Bala Mohammed.
I'm relating to all the governors, and particularly Bauchi State Governor of yesterday.
Because he said recently that his party, the PDP, will employ President Tinubu as its campaign director in 2027 because the president's policies are making him less popular and the PDP more popular. He also criticized the palliatives that the federal government is disbursing as too little, and that the money that the federal government is giving to the states now have much less value because of the devaluation of the naira and food inflation. He has a point there, doesn't he?
No, he has no point. Because Tinubu does not control any land in Bauchi State. All the lands where people will plant and bring food to Bauchi State is in Bauchi State. Tinubu has no control over the land in all the local governments in Bauchi State. Then all the lands in Bauchi State, in the local government, is under the control of the governor of Bauchi State. Tinubu has released all the funds that Bauchi State is entitled to Bauchi State from May 2023 to July 2024, amounting to close to 74 billion.
But because of the devaluation of the naira, that money is worth a lot less.
The naira may be devalued, but what have you produced? What have you brought? I had interaction with persons who were complaining the other day about food. And when they go to the market, they can't find something to buy. I said, okay, when you are going to the market, when we were young, we were growing up with our parents, with our mothers, when we are going to the market to buy something, you will be harvesting something from your own farm, or taking your own goats, or taking your own chicken that you have produced to go and sell in the market so that you can buy gari that you did not.
And that is where the local government suggestion
that is when they come
you're
in.
talking about
that is when they come in. So
right.
What has Bauchi governor produced? In fact, I want to challenge the governor of Bauchi State that Nigeria and all Nigerians are prepared to buy all the food that Governor Bala Mohammed, my friend, the deputy senator and governor, will produce. And I want to challenge governor of Bauchi State that let him dare to be as bold as the governor of Niger State, who said, I don't want to sell the food of my state to anybody else. I want to urge my friend, Senator Bala Mohammed, who the governor, to say so in Bauchi, because Bauchi is one of his ought to be the agric basket of the country. Good lands, good vegetation, challenged as it were, but the climate change has even been a lot better to them. Now, they should be producing food.
Well,
let's using anything.
Yeah,
so,
let's move away from
conclude on that. To conclude on the governor of Bauchi State. To conclude on the governor of Bauchi State. The governor of Bauchi State is only one of all the 36 governors who are doing the same. And Tinubu's administration and President Tinubu should not be deceived by what the governors are telling him that they're supporting him. Well, because the governors have employed a measure of blackmail against the president and the federal government, telling the federal government that, look, you are responsible, telling their citizens out there that they are responsible for everything. When this protest that has just happened, go to a lot of the states, they have taken conscious measures, including bribe and deploying money, to tell the people not to protest against them. Some of them even dictate what to be written on the placard. I say take responsibility. And everything that is written is against the federal government. Meanwhile, the federal government has given all their monies of the states to the state government. They're using it to build houses in a 20-story building in Lagos, like my state government. Like some states, they will they do things that doesn't produce anything for the economy.
Well,
my state has received from between May last year and June this year more than 96 billion naira. But you can't see. It is there on the website of the of FAC, Federation Account Allocation Committee, how much each state has received. You'll find what Bauchi has received. Ask Bauchi, where is the money?
Right. Okay. Well, let's. I mean, the time is fast galloping away, and I know you came to talk about solutions and the suggestions that you have for the federal government, rather than sort of the political bantering. Even though you clearly have, something to say about that. But let's return to that issue of the local governments and trying to get them to deploy their funds into agriculture, because that's one of the key issues that you're trying to get the federal government to get into.
Now, the federal government, please, you cannot survive this by importation of food. Federal government, you don't have land, we've stressed. Federal government, work with the state governors and with the local government to make sure that their fund, at least 15%, is allocated for agriculture. And then you do a kind of, look, I will support you with this, I'll support you with this, I'll support you with this. Let the states, let each of those local governments get encouraged, Like, I'm from Ibionibom local government. In Ibionibom local government in Akwa Ibom state, if you go, grass has overgrown. But under the Tinubu administration, the local government has received 3.8 billion in 11 months. A local government, my local government. But the place is overgrown with grass. No workers don't even come. But they're in their respective houses receiving alerts in their phones of their salaries. And after that, the chairman vanishes. So the federal government should take advantage of this. Now, in 2005, the federal government, in the National Assembly, I chaired the Rules and Business Committee, and we passed a law titled the Local Government Allocation of Revenue Monitoring Act, and I chaired the Rules and Business Committee, and I led the House Committee, the House delegation to the Senate delegation chaired by Senator Udoma, who was chairman of National Planning then. We agreed and passed the Local Government Monitoring of Revenue Act, which we gave a lot of powers to the local government for federal government to monitor what they do. Yes, we were sued in 2006, 2007, and Justice Nikki Toby, delivering the lead judgment, set aside a lot of those provisions, but allowed certain of the provisions to stand. But by the judgment of the Supreme Court some 2 weeks ago, granting autonomy, most of those things that were struck down have been revived by the present Supreme Court as it is. Revived, looking at certain. Now, I want the Attorney General of the Federation to look at that law again. Add flesh to it, and then so that the local government can, through some other instrumentalities, the federal government, through some other instrumentalities, can be involved We don't not to take over the money of the local government, no, but at least to ensure that it is properly applied. Because if it is not properly applied, it is you, the federal government, that will be called. Because Nigeria is still behaving as if it is a unitary government.
So in other words, potentially you can enshrine those things in some form of law.
Legislation, and then
so that they must put a certain amount of their money towards something like that.
Yes, but trying to go a little bit. I want the federal government, while you are doing this with the state government and the local government, you have instruments, you have lands in the river basin authorities. You have created or it is said to be created, or it will be created, the Ministry of Livestock. I want the federal government to please hasten the process of the creation of Ministry of Livestock, so that the question of livestock will be properly and fastly addressed.
Okay, we're running out of time.
I want the federal government also to transfer the river basin authorities from the Ministry of Water Resources to Ministry of Agriculture.
So basically,
that they can use the facilities. So that water resources, Agric does not need to go and lend or borrow land from water resources.
So in other words, the Ministry of Livestock is necessary.
It's very necessary.
But it should not stand alone.
Well, it could stand alone if they can, but I will prefer, and it will since fisheries has been transferred from agriculture to marine, then Ministry of Agriculture could be made to stand alone, could be restructured, so that water resources
so that it
could go back to
the agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture focuses exclusively on agriculture.
And leaves even things that are called rural roads. You take it away from Ministry of Agriculture.
Building of schools
and erosion control. Then you allow Ministry of Agriculture to control Ministry of Agriculture. Because I looked at the budget of the ministry, about 29 to 32% of the budget is about on rural roads, which does not. You can go, you use your budget, your envelope, to go and do rural roads, and then you come and import food. How?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So let us concentrate and have get the livestock department and the livestock ministry on. In fact, some days ago, I had a very personal bitter experience. This farmer header clashes is no more in the north, not in the middle belt. It is down south.
It happened in
my village.
In your village.
In my village 4 or 5 days ago. I went, and Gary is very costly, and I was finding out cassava, even melon. And I discovered that in my village, herders have moved into the village, and the herders will come drive away the owners of the cassava farm and harvest the cassava and keep for the cow to eat in the presence of the owners. And when I went, I saw the situation.
And they were armed.
They were armed, and I had to call the security institutions, because they were also going to be. You can't go and knock somebody and he say he wouldn't, or pour somebody cold water and he say he will not open his teeth and he will not react. My people can be very reactive and reactionary. So I had to try to quell it. We have only suspended it because the anti-open grazing task force of the federal government, of the state government, had to come in. I had to call them in. I had to call the police to avoid open confrontation. Now they have them, and then this idea of saying that ranching, that if you come to do ranch, they will come and take over your land. They will come and take over and bring a strange something culture into your place. It's not correct, because this cow that we are even quarreling about in the south, it is only consumed in the south more, not in the north. So we should allow the idea of this ranching to come in effect. After all, the simple effect of ranching, the simple definition of ranching is integrated agriculture, where you have the cow here eating the leaves of
well, you
this and all that.
You made a lot of very interesting suggestions, and I imagine you're codifying all that into a proposal, because I think that it's worth giving that to the government and then following it up in a codified way. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I think you've made some very interesting points here, and I do hope that you're communicating with your people, because it's your party, the APC, who are in power, and getting your ideas through to them. Senator Enang is a legislative consultant, government resource person, leader of the APC party, one of the leaders, and a former governorship aspirant in Akwa Ibom State under the APC. Thank you very much.